Episode 5, Pixelated Perspectives, Episode 5. We are live. Welcome back, everyone.
How's it going?
Hello, hello.
Um, I hope you've all been thoroughly enjoyed, entertained by the malarkey in the gaming industry this week. But we're going to start with the question everyone wants to know. Do you consider Souls games JRPGs? And even beyond
Mm,
that, what is a JRPG to you?
Um,
you go first,
yeah,
Steve.
it's a JRPG. It's Japanese role-playing game made by a Japanese developer in Japan. So,
Oh,
I mean,
So,
it's technically. Here's the thing. So, yes, technically they're JRPGs, but they're very clearly inspired by Western fantasy. So, I mean, like, it is what it is. But I mean, when
do
you
you feel
think of
like?
a J,
All
well,
right.
when you think of a JRPG, you probably don't think of Dark Souls first. You think of Final Fantasy or, you know, some other kind of anime weeb game,
oh
right?
God.
Or something like that. But no, I'm just kidding. But
I'm not.
something along those lines where it's like, either a turn-based game or if it is an action game, it's very like over the top and stylish. So you probably wouldn't think of a From Software game like Dark Souls, but they're still JRPGs. It's just like there's different genres of anime, there's different genres of Japanese RPG. So that's my
Okay.
take on it.
I guess the reason I was asking that uh on Twitter the other day is just it feels like there's so much debate about what an RPG, like even just drop the J, like what an RPG even is. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like some people will tell you it's not an RPG if like you're not making choices in your game that have like consequences towards the story or what have you. And like you don't really do that in Elden Ring or Dark Souls. You know what I mean? Like it's there's not a lot of choice and consequence. Certainly not like in The Witcher or some other RPG um game. So I don't know. Like I don't have like a satisfying answer for the question because that's why I was asking. I genuinely don't even I don't know. I don't know.
That goes back to
What do you
the Forbidden West debate. I think that people were talking about, is it an RPG? Sony had it listed as an action RPG. People said it's not an RPG. Uh, that's
So
neither here nor there though about Forbidden West.
so the it all kind of goes back to that generation, that 360 generation, PS3. Um, Everyone started putting, RPG elements into games, and then it really kind of blew up after The Witcher 3 in the Xbox One gen. And then Assassin's Creed made the jump to adding RPG elements to their games, and
Mhm.
then from there it was just this thing where every game has level ups. God of War has it now. Hell,
Mhm.
Spider-Man has level ups. So I mean, like if you look at the history of role playing games, though, there is that like traditionalist set of people that are like, our role playing games came from like D&D and things like that. So if it doesn't have these specific things, then it's not an RPG. But the genre has grown so much over the decades. I mean, Diablo wouldn't fit that definition for them either. You know, uh, Even Skyrim and Elder Scrolls and stuff to an extent.
That was the other thing I was wondering about too, is like then
Right,
is Oblivion an RPG? Which I mean I
right.
think it is, but I don't know.
hmm
Yeah.
They are. They're just the genre has expanded and
RPG to me
been.
is any game where you have a variety of roles to play, but you can lock yourself into playing whatever role you want. So that's just how I look at it.
Mhm.
Like I wouldn't necessarily look at God of War as an RPG, but at the same time, uh, something like Forbidden West, I would, because you can build up one skill tree all the way and you can play that way the whole game, or you could do a completely different skill tree and play that way the whole game. So I mean, either way people feel about it on Forbidden West, either it is or it isn't. That's up to them. But to me, you have to be able to choose a role and live in that role. So
That makes sense.
when I look at FromSoft games, yeah, they don't look like JRPGs, but I think just the variety of the builds that you can make kind of make it. Well, we already know it's an RPG. We kind of switched the conversation, but
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Sorry, I didn't mean to switch it. I'm just it's just like a larger question for me. But yeah, no, that makes sense. I get what you're saying, and like you both said, right? Like they've incorporated these elements into so many games these days, right? Like um I think like Vampire and Banishers both had like a lot of really great art. Like those feel like deep kind of
Yeah.
RPG. Maybe not Banishers quite as much. Like Vampire was like
Right.
nothing other than an RPG, but like I think Banishers is a good example, like where they kind of cross over with like a lot of great RPG elements and action elements and storytelling elements too. So yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know if they're RPGs or not. But if they're JRPGs, then my entire persona is it's
They're definitely
I mean,
JRPGs.
so I'll say this. I mean, my best friend does not like JRPGs either, but he's a huge Dark Souls fan, and I think that just speaks to he loves Dragon's Dogma as well. So I think it just speaks to that JRPG isn't a singular genre. Like it can mean multiple kinds of games.
multiple things. Yeah.
It something specific comes to mind when someone mentions a JRPG, but in reality, it's just a game made by Japanese
Are we
developers. A
getting
role-playing
there
game.
with Souls-like games now too? Do you know what I mean? Like everybody thought Black Myth Wukong
Yes, we
was
are
a
getting there.
Souls-like.
Yes,
Everything's a Souls-like.
we are getting there because I
If
argue
you
with this about JD every day. He thinks every game that has a parry and a roll
Yeah.
is a Souls like, and I'm like, it's not a Souls like.
Yeah, I agree with you. I agree with you 100%.
Like Stellar
Yeah, a lot of-
Blade, we had this argument about Stellar Blade. It's not a Souls like. It's not.
I mean,
There,
I think
it
Stellar
has
Blade
to
is
have
though.
like
Stellar
the
Blade is.
bonfire element too, right? Like it has to have that element
It does.
of collecting souls or whatever they name that currency in each game. Like it has to have like there's at least like three things I think it has to have
Okay,
to like
So
let's narrow it down though.
so Stellar Blade. If we're gonna talk about Stellar Blade,
So I think if you're gonna be a Souls like, you have to have the bonfire system.
it has
Mhm.
that.
You have to lose something when you die, something substantial,
You don't.
and you have
That's
to be
not
able to
there.
go and get it back or lose it all. You know what I mean? Like that
Yeah,
whole
that's
system.
not
and
Yeah.
it has to be centralized one or maximum 1-on-2 combat where you focusing on one or two enemies, and
Mhm.
it's based on parrying, waiting to observe the
And
pattern, and
iframe.
then striking.
And the
Well, and-
iframe dodge roll.
Well,
Yeah.
well, and my thing too is like, so for Stellar Blade, like I think that's where the like part of the term comes in, right? Souls like. It's not a Souls game because yeah, enemies respawn, you have the rest points, but you don't really lose like experience on death, and you don't use experience from killing monsters to level her up. She gains upgrades more like in an action game where she gains like upgrades. You find items that upgrade her kit, right? At least from the little bit that I've played. Um, I would say there's enough elements in Stellar Blade to call it a Souls like, but then you have a game like Lords of the Fallen where that's a Souls game. Like they literally wanted to make a Dark Souls game. Like that studio wanted to make a game that's about as close to a Dark Souls game as you can get without actually being made by From Software. So there's that, and then like this whole genre has spawned off to where you're just getting the same kind of thing with, is Horizon Forbidden West an action RPG or is it a action adventure game with RPG elements? Is Stellar Blade a Souls like or is it a action adventure game with Souls like elements? Like so it's like
the lines
it's
are
a lot-
blurring, man.
yeah, and so it's just a lot of that kind of stuff going on. And
And now,
honestly,
like
I
you're
don't.
also seeing devs go out of their way to say that they're not a Souls like.
Right.
Like they did it with Black
Right.
Myth and they did it with Phantom Blade Zero. Both dev
Well,
teams were like, we are not
Because
making a
let's
Souls.
be real. Unless you are FromSoft, if you make a Souls game, it's not gonna sell. And that's just, you look
For the
at Lords of
most
the
part,
Fallen, you look at the Pinocchio game. I know that did really good on Game Pass, but it
I
didn't.
think Rise of P did well, but yeah, for the most part, they don't. And I think there are a lot of people who
Well,
just like will not play it if they hear Souls. That's enough for
Yeah.
them to be like, no.
well, and I think like we didn't really see. I mean, Dark Souls has been popular, but Elden Ring was
Yeah.
a blowout success. They never had a game sell like that,
Yeah.
right?
Mhm.
Like, so even FromSoft, it's a niche genre. Like, they created that genre. I swear to God, I've mentioned it every single episode, but they created that genre because people wanted a game like that. There was a small group of people that felt like they were being left behind, that the casual market was taking over. So like, you know, it's a niche genre, right? And if your budget is, yeah, right. Now it's more of a, but I would say that it's a more popular genre now, definitely because of From Software and what they've done. But at the same time, the influx of new ideas from games from other developers have also, you know, Liza P was in a lot of the mind share and the discussion. Lords of the Fallen, not quite so much, but I would argue that it's probably the best Souls-like game I've played since Dark Souls 3.
Performance ruined that game at launch.
Yeah. Unreal 5. I mean, but I mean, I played Dark Souls on 360, so I mean, anyone that's done Blighttown, you know, like if the game's great underneath, that eventually you just kind of ignore that stuff, and that's what happened with me. So, I mean, that was like my top 5 last year was one of those games, was Lords of the Fallen. So, you know, but yeah, I mean, I think the genre itself is still niche, and you just have to have a realistic budget if you're gonna have success and not be FromSoft. So,
well, you seen the Black Myth Wukong dev, they said, listen, it's not a Souls-like. It doesn't have a difficulty option, but it's not super hard, whereas though the average person can't, you know, play it and get through it. So they were sure to make that distinction.
That's something with Stellar Blade too. It has difficulty options. So like if I don't feel like getting my ass kicked, I can just switch it to story mode real quick and then go through it. So, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. So those lines are blurring, and I think the lines for RPGs have been blurred forever. So that's why I was asking. I'm still not sure. I lean towards not, just because fuck JRPG. No, I'm just kidding.
I mean, gaming is a melting pot of ideas. Like,
absolutely.
So there's so many crossing genres. RPGs are in shooters. You know, they've got FPS. You know,
I play both likes now, right?
I played a turn-based FPS a couple years ago. So, yeah.
Like you guys said.
It's called Lemniscate. It was awesome. So, yeah, I mean, it's all over the place. And it's good. It's great. We want inspiration. You know?
I agree.
All right, so we had this conversation the other day. So, should reviewers dock points for optional content in games?
I'll start off here because I think absolutely. I think that if the devs put something in the game, it should be considered. Because you play, I think a great example of it is the Elder Scrolls games, right? Like if you played Oblivion or Skyrim, just the main story, those games are ass, bro. But when you play the Thieves Guild, the Dark Brotherhood, the Fighters Guild, and you go out and you find all these cool, like the murder mystery one in Oblivion, like those are the things that make those experiences great. The side content. So yeah, I think 100% those need to be taken into account.
That's kind of where we got where kind of the miscommunication lied. When I say optional content, right? When I look at something like, say for instance, Grand Theft Auto, like if you go through the whole game and decide, you know, not to be a fucking ambulance driver or or not to go rob a convenience store or something. To me, even though that's side stuff, that's still a part of the game. When I was talking about optional content shouldn't be considered, I'm talking about something like when you play, for instance, Uncharted. If you play Uncharted 3 or 4 or whatever, I don't think that if somebody says, okay, the multiplayer game on the game is ass. I'm not saying it is. It's not. It's really good. But if somebody says the multiplayer on Uncharted is ass, so instead of giving this game a 9, we give it an 8. Like, you can just play the whole game without the multiplayer. It's a completely separate mode. So that's where I kind of was like, yeah, you should consider it maybe, but like I wouldn't take points off of a game because the multiplayer.
It's hard to say, right? Because okay, I know exactly what you're saying, right? Like Uncharted is a really good example for that side of the argument. But then like you also think of Halo, right? I mean, everyone bought Halo. The campaigns are great, but people bought Halo to play online.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yes, you did. Shut up, Steven. What do you mean, bro?
You
want me to pull up your hours?
No. So I played the multiplayer the most, obviously, because it has the most replay value. But I bought every Halo for the story, to continue the story.
Of course, but that was 8-10 hours.
Yeah, I'm just saying. Like I was most excited for the next part of the story.
Hold up, before we continue.
Going
So did you like the campaign on Halo Infinite?
Yeah, it was alright.
Yeah, I did.
It was better than Halo 5, but I wasn't
I
a
don't
fan of
even
the
know
open
why I
world
asked y'all
format.
that. Continue.
What do you mean?
I don't look. I don't even know. I should have thought about that before I even asked y'all that. That was dumb
I
of
mean,
me.
like I liked the story. I didn't like the open world. The open world was
Okay,
not
there we
good.
go. There we go. I like that subjective.
Yeah, all right, I'm
Um,
fine with that. Yeah.
But after Halo 5 story, Halo Infinite story felt a lot better. Like it was a lot.
Yeah, I
more
will say that
interesting.
Halo 5 was dog shit. The campaign.
Yeah.
Like I did love in the campaign of Halo Infinite, like I would load up one of the big trucks with Marines and then give them
Yeah.
all the laser weapons. Bro, it was like a disco show anytime you would drive around it. Like I thought they had some really cool things, but I do get like there were some like low quality elements to that open world for sure.
I mean,
Yeah.
shout out to my boy Craig. You know what I'm saying? My boy Gruesome
You
Craigie.
love Craig. I think they added that as a skin.
They
As
should.
a
He's the
emblem.
GOAT. Craig is literally the GOAT.
Amazing.
Craig. We got a little off topic there.
Yeah, go
what
ahead,
were you talking
Steve.
about?
Or Sandy, if he was
What were we
continuing.
talking-
It
what were we
was
talking about?
optional content.
Optional content. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, so like Doom 2016, I think famously got like a 7 from IGN because the arena multiplayer was
See?
shit. And I actually disagree. I loved it. It
I love
felt like
that game's
it
multiplayer.
felt like an old school arena shooter.
Yeah.
It didn't play anything like the base game, like the campaign. And that's to 2099's point. You know, it was like I think it was made by a completely different developer.
Yeah.
Is
Like,
that true?
yeah, I think so. Someone may have to fact check me on that, but it did not play or feel heavy.
It's
and-
another
and,
game like that
chunky.
made by 2 different
Yeah.
developers on them. It'll come back to me.
But I mean, like honestly, like that doesn't bother me too much because it's like it is one package, and the team has to review the content in the game and give a review for the game. It's not like on Metacritic there's Doom campaign and Doom multiplayer,
Mhm.
right? Like so they have to give overall score. I mean, I know they can choose just to ignore the multiplayer.
But they do that with certain games, though, and
They,
that's the
they
problem.
do, they do, and that's the point.
Call of
That's the
Duty
point.
right.
specifically.
I want consistency. So if a reviewer is gonna negatively review Doom 2016 for its multiplayer, then Final Fantasy VII Rebirth should definitely be reviewed negatively for its shit ass open world content. So
Yes.
like so like
Yes.
that's my thing, and like that's in the game. That's in
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
it's not a different mode.
Exactly.
You know, like it's awful. Like it's literally the same thing over and over again in every zone. Like sure, the zones look different, and they're beautifully crafted. Like when you play open world games today and you look at how they look and how they look to explore visually, like that's one of the biggest problems I had with Halo Infinite, right? Like it looked like a very dated open world. Like it looked like it was a generation behind. It doesn't even look good visually than Halo 5's campaign, right? And Halo 5 had a more realistic art style, but still. So that's my thing. So I'm playing Rebirth, and I'm like, okay, so you get to a new zone, Chadley starts yapping at you, and you got to go hit the stupid towers, and the towers aren't even interesting like in Horizon, where at least it's like you can climb them. You know, it's like a little gameplay puzzle. I mean, it's not that much more interesting, but at least there's something there. In this, you just run up to the tower, fight a guy underneath it, and then sometimes the button is right there. Sometimes you have to climb up it, you know, or whatever. And you know, people have been copying that since Far Cry 3, you know, so like that's nothing that interesting. And then from there, it's, you know, doing the fight challenges and, you know, finding the like life crystal veins and the summoning things. And that's it. Like the only other thing is the proto relic and the side quests, which are okay, but you have to run around a lot to do the proto relic stuff. So I mean, after like my third zone, I was done with it, and it was like I felt like I was missing out on some of the side stories and the proto relic stories because I didn't want to go through the effort of slogging through the content to do them. And
I get that.
like seeing reviewers say that, you know, the game without the side content is a 9 out of 10, but with it it's a 7. I'm like, then the game's a fucking 7.
Right.
Like,
Right, exactly.
you know,
Yeah.
like,
I agree. If it's,
like-
like you don't get to review part of a game and not
Right.
the whole thing, in my opinion.
And
You
that-
sold me something. You sold me a whole entire product. You know what I'm saying? So that's the whole thing that needs to be taken into account, especially if you're telling somebody else whether or not they should buy this game.
And to that point, the Hellblade reviews for Hellblade 2 seem to constantly criticize it for what it wasn't rather than what it was. So
Mm-hmm.
it's like you've got this game that looks insane. Like even just visuals alone should have netted it, a little bit
Right.
better
It
of a
was a step
score than the
forward for the
original game.
yeah.
And then like everyone's gonna have their own opinions. I think that the gameplay is better than the first game.
Me too.
I mean,
Me too.
it, you're not fighting multiple people or whatever. I don't know why that matters, but it's more impactful and visceral and
I agree.
cinematic, which
Yep.
blends into the kind of game it is. It's a cinematic game. It's not meant to be Uncharted or God of War. People went into it with this expectation that, well, they're owned by Microsoft now, so it should be like God of War. Why? Why should it be like God of War? Like,
Right. It should be what it is, not what. Yeah. 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 I agree.
yeah. And so like that's where I felt like the critical reception disparity, where it's like Final Fantasy VII is like the best reviewed game of the year so far, or one of the best, and I don't feel like it deserves it. I don't feel like it deserves to be a
It
92
absolutely doesn't.
on Metacritic, and I
You
don't think
have to
Hellblade
tell
2.
me on slandering Final Fantasy ever.
I don't necessarily think Hellblade 2 should be a 92 either, but an
Right.
82, whatever it is, 81,
Mhm.
something like that. Like, I don't know. I feel
Yeah.
like there's definitely a situation where that game got reviewed more negatively due to expectations rather than the reality of
Yeah.
what the
Almost like a
product
certain
is.
tax. Was it? No, I'm just kidding.
No, I wasn't gonna say that. I wasn't gonna.
Y'all terrible.
All right, when I was still anonymous on Twitter, I would have said it, but I'm not saying it no more. Everyone can see me.
Yeah. You don't want to deal with that now.
I guess for me, I'm kind of biased in this regard. I guess when I talk about you should review the game for what it's intended, or you shouldn't take points away from a separate mode. I guess I'm looking at the recent trend of games getting cooked for like the end game. Like for example, something like what they hated on Suicide Squad from the beginning, but something like Avengers that got a fair shake at the beginning.
Okay.
You can play the whole Avengers campaign, and it's a great campaign. The gameplay is good, the combat's good, it's fine. But all the reviews said, "Oh, the multi after you beat the campaign, and you go into the multiplayer mode, it's repetitive and it's grindy, and that takes away from a lot of the game." But like, why can't you just review the game and say, "Look, the campaign is an 8 out of 10. If you buying this to play multiplayer, it's a 2 out of 10. But the campaign, if you are a single player superhero fan, you're gonna love this game like you would love Batman or Spider-Man because the campaign is good." Like, or
That makes perfect sense.
so
I
that's
get
just what
you're
I
saying.
was thinking of. I mean, I guess it would have to be like a game by game basis, I guess, because
Yeah, but
they
also,
do it anyway. So
yeah, you're 100% right though, right? Like, it almost sounds like too simplistic to say, but like, the reviewers should use common sense, right? Like that game you're talking about, no one's buying it. No one's buying it for to play the online multiplayer. Like okay, if it sucks, whatever. But like people bought that game for the actual campaign content, right? Like so that's what should be weighted mostly in the score. Of course, if they gave you some shovelware part of the game too, that should
yeah,
be mentioned. But like, I agree. Like you should be weighting out what's most important to the specific game when you're reviewing it and telling people whether or not they should buy the game. So I think you're 100% right. Yeah.
yeah. I guess they just have to be more clear. It has to be more clarity on, when they review two separate halves of a game. Because like they reviewed Halo Infinite, the campaign, multiplayer separate. They do Call of Duty campaign and multiplayer separate. NBA 2K, I don't believe they did it last year, but I do think they did. Like the base game, the franchise mode, and all that separate from when they do my part, because it's like a completely different thing that you don't have to dabble in if you just somebody that just likes
Right.
basketball. So it's
Yeah.
just yeah.
I know what you mean, and I agree. I get it. It makes sense, definitely. Like it'd be cool. I think so many of these places are scared to like be different in how they do things, but it will be cool to see the outlet that's like that does what you says and kind of breaks it up a little bit within their own review. That's fair, right? Like I think that makes perfect sense, especially with a sports game like you mentioned. I had a lot of stuff like that too with games like NHL or Madden or whatever. There's just different modes. Like there's one mode I would play and that's it, and that's the only thing I cared about in the whole game.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So what we got next? Xbox Game Pass. Do Y'all go ahead and talk about it,
They're fucking man. What the fuck are they doing, man?
man.
I'm gonna go first. That way, Steven can go off because I know he had some real thoughts about it. But I just think it's gross. I think it's gross. I think it's disgusting. It makes me sick. Uh, Console players, man. I'm a console player. Like I know a lot. Both of you guys have your PCs, whatever. I have my console, and I've had Ultimate the whole time anyway. Because I don't know, I'm an idiot. I don't even know what that entitles me to. I just have had Ultimate since Game Pass came out. So I know I'm not losing day one games. But to take day one games away from people who like just have a console, that sucks, man. I don't even care about the price increase. Like I kind of think that's whenever there's one of these offerings, that's going to happen. Netflix increases all the time. All these subscriptions increase all the time. But to take away day one games just from your console base, why? Why? What is that doing? No one's gonna buy your Xbox because they don't get day one games on Game Pass. What is it changing for the better? I don't understand. I don't understand it. It's stupid. It's a terrible business practice. I think Xbox has these moments where they are just completely tone deaf and make horrible decisions. And I don't know what else to say about it. It's gross, and I'm disgusted. And they should know about it.
I think it's more so even beyond the price increase, which is, I mean, it sucks, but you know, even though Liza P said they wouldn't increase it after, you know, Activision, we all kind of figured that they were going to increase it after Activision. Like we know, like that's what he does. He lies. So we kind of knew that it was going to increase, but I just think that the rage is mostly about the confusion of it. It's the confusion of it because now you got what Game Pass Core, Game Pass Standard, Game Pass Console, Game Pass Ultimate, PC Game Pass Standard that comes with that doesn't have cloud gaming, but then Ultimate has cloud gaming. And then some tiers, well, Ultimate has day one games, the other tiers don't. PC gets all the day one games, and it's the cheapest of them all. So it's just like it's confusing as hell.
Go ahead, give you a stroke, man. It's insane.
So I mean, I think the issue is too is and just to like kind of point out, people keep talking about that article about Phil saying they're not going to raise prices because of the Activision Blizzard thing. That same article, he says price increases are inevitable. Like he says that.
Well, I guess maybe the distinction there is like
people were thinking
coming no matter what.
He should have waited then, bro. Like don't do it. Like soon as y'all announce Call of Duty coming. Like come on.
People were. He was basically saying we're not going to raise prices. Like we announced that it's closed today. Tomorrow it's $25 a month. Like that's what they meant. Like
right.
But I mean they're awful at it. I mean it's just terrible. Like I mean because here's the thing. So my issue this whole entire generation has been how they regard the console user base and how they regard the PC, Xbox user base. So before, if you had console Game Pass, you couldn't play every Game Pass game because like Sea of Thieves requires gold and you'd have to have gold separately. And then, but PC Game Pass didn't. And you know what? Honestly, here's my thing. So PC players don't give a fuck about Game Pass anyway. They want everything on Steam. Okay. So to me, it shouldn't matter if they piss off the PC Game Pass subscribers because they're people that are weird that don't seem to like Steam, and that's not very many PC players. So, like, in my opinion, either everybody should pay for Xbox Live or nobody should. So, like, PC Game Pass should not get free multiplayer from the Xbox app. If the console
should be the other way around.
Yeah, exactly. No, that's what I'm saying. So like, I'm just saying that like, if console Game Pass doesn't have gold, you know, for online play, then neither should PC. But obviously,
but it should be that both get it. Like, stop charging for online game. Yeah, that's ridiculous. That's what gaming is now.
Because here's the thing: PC Game Pass, those people access the exact same servers. They use the same party system. They use the same friends list and message servers and all of the infrastructure that I don't even know why I'm saying we. I'm literally got a 4080 PC right next to me, but like, you know what I mean? Like they use the exact same services that console players have to pay for. So why shouldn't they be paying too? In reality, nobody should be paying. So like my thing is, you know, you have, now they're doing this standard thing where I guess if you stay on console Game Pass, you get to keep those things, but then you still don't get to play. Yeah, you can't let it lapse. Yeah, they're eventually they're going to kick everyone off that. They're going to combine it eventually. Um, and then the standard one now loses, so you gain gold. Which here's my thing: anyone that's been on console Game Pass obviously doesn't need gold because they haven't upgraded to Ultimate like I did. So like,
Right.
if they've been on console Game Pass and haven't been using gold, then that means they're playing single player games. So
Mhm.
you're gonna move. You want these people to move to Ultimate, or you want them to move to Standard eventually,
Mhm.
and lose their day one games, but gain gold that they weren't using anyway. And
Right.
like, it's just stupid. Like, and PC Game Pass has EA access. It has every game in Game Pass,
Oh
including
damn, it
day
got
one
EA
launches.
access too.
PC Game Pass has
I didn't
EA
know that
access.
last night when I signed up for $1.
Um, so it's got that, and then it's cheaper. It's $3 cheaper a month than console Game Pass for
Mhm.
more for less or for more features. It's cheaper.
Yeah.
Like, what sense does that make? You
Right.
know, and so you've got this weird thing where it's like, what games are considered day one games that you're going to lose? So when this standard thing hits, is Hellblade going to be on there? I mean, is it a 3 month thing before day one games get added to this standard thing? Is it
When does
6 months?
this start?
This month, I think.
The price
So
increase
then
started.
The price increase was this month. I think the standard goes into effect in
Yeah, the
September,
standard is
or it's the other
September,
way.
but the price increase started today, I believe, for new members.
But you
okay,
know
so
what I
then the
mean?
real
Like,
question is Stalker gonna be day one? Is Avowed gonna be day one? Is Indiana Jones gonna be are all these games they just like shot directly into my carotid artery? Do I have any reason to be excited about these or no?
well, what are you on
If you
Ultimate?
got Ultimate, you good.
Yeah. Yeah,
Then you
yeah,
want
I know,
the
but I'm just saying, like,
yeah.
everyone who has an Xbox console that isn't on Ultimate necessarily. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Well, and that's the thing is like, if you were on, so I don't know. I don't know how that works. I don't know how you do that, right? Like, if you had Game Pass Core and you upgraded to standard or to console, you lose gold. Like, or are people paying for both? Like, you pay $60 for a year of gold, for a year of core, and then you
why
pay
does
for
Xbox do
And
this?
that's the
like
problem. It's confusing as hell, dog.
Yeah.
every tier should be an upgrade from the one behind it. There should not be trade-offs for
Right.
paying more money.
It's like
Like,
that meme, we're so back, it's so over, we're so back, which is like
yeah,
the Xbox meme. It's the perfect
like
Xbox meme.
like I kind of understand PC Game Pass and console Game Pass being either the same price or different prices because they're not the same platform, right? Nobody that's on console Game Pass is going to upgrade to PC Game Pass if they're not playing on PC. So like, I'm not even worried about those. But like Core, like right now, before they make the changes, Core is the cheapest one. It has gold and some selection of games. But if you were to upgrade to console to get everything in Game Pass, you then lose gold. You can't play online. So
Right.
like,
Right.
what? Like, it's stupid. Like, the each tier should just add to what you get for an increase in price,
Of
not
course.
take away and add to. You know,
Right.
it's just some of the most idiotic, um, you know,
Everything. It's just
like,
Xbox, man. Typical
and
fucking.
people will get on and be like, "Oh, I'm sure you know better than the business people at Microsoft." I'm like, I obviously do because they've been running this damn company
Well,
into the
fuck them.
ground
Yeah,
for the
what do
last
you
10
mean?
years.
Xbox
Like,
has been in the
I
shitter for a decade, and I'm a goddamn consumer. I know exactly what they
Yeah.
should be doing.
I had a guy tell me that, because I was like, this isn't going to make people upgrade to Ultimate. It's going to make people cancel. Like, why, if I'm only on console, why would I upgrade to Ultimate
Yeah.
to gain PC and cloud support if I don't use those
Yeah.
things? If I don't have a
And I don't
PC
use
to play
either of those.
on,
I don't know why I've had Ultimate this whole time.
well, it's because you need gold. It's the only
Yeah.
way to get gold and Game Pass together.
Yeah.
That's the
But
only
like,
tier that gets gold and Game Pass.
and full Game Pass together. Yeah.
Oh,
Yep.
oh.
So
All
that's my
right.
thing. It's like, you don't. It, it's just, it's frustrating because it's like, he was like, "Oh yeah, everyone said that everyone was going to cancel Netflix when they got rid of Family Plan." I was like, Netflix has 280 million subscribers.
Hey,
Like, it's not comparable. It's not desirable. Xbox Game Pass is not desirable on that level. And he was like, "Yes, it is." And I was like, "No, it's not." They had to combine Gold and Game Pass to make it look like they grew. Like, what are
yeah.
you talking about? You know? So I don't know. It's really
Well, what do y'all
frustrating.
think the
That's
game
it.
plan is? Because
Well, I was
clearly,
just about to ask you.
clearly, after they combined everything, like the growth was still like even if you go back to the court case, the growth it hasn't grown. Like it's just been stagnant. So what is this supposed to do for the growth and like the future of Xbox?
Nothing. I think they're doing the same thing that a lot of movie theaters have done, where they just keep raising prices to make more money on the shrinking user base. So like, movies every year will report like, oh, this is the highest grossing movie of all time, but like half as many people saw it. It's because ticket prices are twice as
Right.
much as they were when Gone with the Wind came out. You know what I mean? If you
Right.
adjust for inflation, none of the movies like Avatar are even close to
Hmm.
like to having as many people that sat in a seat and watched it
Right.
as movies today. So I mean, like, they're just trying to squeeze more money out of a shrinking user base, and it's a dumb decision in my opinion, because why don't you try to make the service better? Why don't you try to sell more consoles? Why don't you try to provide content and value, and people will subscribe to it? I
Yeah.
mean,
I have a question for you, 2099 specifically. I want to know what you think about it. Do you think this is like the first step towards day one games just eventually going away entirely from Game Pass? Like, is that offering going to end?
I think that when you're dealing with Xbox, you have to look at it from the business perspective because everything they've done, like at least the last two generations, has always been geared towards business first and not the consumer. So when I put it in that perspective, I'm thinking that if they go another year, I say if they go another year and Game Pass still has not grown substantially, then I think by next summer you see every first party game going everywhere. Because how much longer do you think Satya is gonna just bleed money on Xbox until eventually he says, you know what, let's just keep y'all Xbox, whatever y'all want to do, go ahead and do it. But every first party game, day one, is gonna be multiplayer. So I think we're at least a year away, but I think that is definitely coming in the distant future. If they keep going
I
down
think
this
you're even
path.
being generous, dude. I think they have until Call of Duty.
I think it's
I'm dead
more
serious.
likely. I think it's more likely that they move away from selling games before they move away from offering them in the service day
Nah,
one.
I don't think that.
Actually,
What does that mean? Wait, what do you mean by that?
because like everything about Microsoft is subscription based.
Yeah.
Office, all their stuff. I think they want to move more towards just that model in general.
But then, like, why are they moving stuff to PlayStation and Nintendo?
I mean, they're
Because they're
still
they're
strong.
selling it there, right?
You
There's
know
still
what?
strong buying
I
power on
would
those
agree.
consoles.
Listen, I would agree with Steven about the subscription base. But we've seen that Sony and Nintendo don't want Game Pass on their platforms. If they came out and said, or there was some even a rumor that they would allow
Mhm.
Game Pass on their platforms if Microsoft went full third party, then I would say 100% they're going to shut it down. They're going to stop selling games. But I think as long
Mhm.
as PlayStation, who has number one as far as like the power. I mean, obviously Nintendo is one, but when you talking about the power of the
Right.
systems, they right there with Xbox. I think as long as PlayStation does not allow Game Pass on their platform, I think they'll keep
I think
selling games.
I think PlayStation would let Game Pass on the platform if Xbox had left
Not
the
making
If they left
consoles.
the console market, yeah,
yeah. Or I don't think they're ever going to leave it completely. I think there's going to be.
yeah,
I think they're going to do one. I think they're going to do one more like Series X style console, like one more, the most powerful, whatever,
Mhm.
97 teraflops. You know, yeah, console, whatever. I think they're gonna do like one more generation of that, and then we're probably gonna get a Surface tablet to play our games over the
You're
cloud
gonna have one
after
more teraflop of a
that.
I
console.
agree with that.
Yeah.
I agree with that.
Um, yeah, because I mean, like, there's no way they're gonna keep putting the engineering costs for state of the art, and people can laugh at that with consoles, but state of the art console, it probably is a lot of money to engineer those things.
Especially when it's you, me, and five other people buying the fucking
Um,
console. Like no one's
yeah,
buying it.
and
So
like, yeah, and like, it's one thing to sell at a loss when you sell 90 million consoles, like the 360 gen,
Yeah,
um, and you actually have a healthy, you know, user base.
ecosystem.
yeah.
Yeah,
Um, but yeah, I mean, I think they're gonna go. I feel like they're gonna keep making hardware. I don't think it's gonna be like competitive. Which, I mean, that might work out for them if it's cheap and it plays their first party games and they start getting quality games out. It might not be a big deal. Maybe they will start selling more. Um, but I mean, like, I think like Ubisoft Plus and EA Access is on PlayStation, so I mean, I don't think that PlayStation would necessarily not allow it. I think it's just that they're a direct competitor
right,
right
right.
now.
It's as long as they're not, as long as they're competing in
Yeah,
this.
they would have to stop making systems, and then I can see it.
I think the big thing would be if Game Pass came to Steam, where Steam doesn't really have subs like that except for like MMOs.
You think you?
Yeah.
But do
Um,
you think Steam would allow Game Pass?
I mean, they'd have to take a cut of the subscriptions that
You don't
go
think
through
so?
Yeah.
Steam.
Well, like right now, they're getting all of Xbox's stuff day one too, and they're selling it, and they're carrying sales for every Xbox game that
Yeah,
releases
that's
anyway.
true. Good point. Good point.
You know what I mean? So if unless they're getting like a fucking darling of a deal in terms of like what they would be getting paid for each of these games that go on a service on their service, I don't think so. Like right now, they're doing. You know, why would they don't fix what's not broken? I
I
think.
mean, I think if Steam was going to take like a percentage of each subscription that was
Right. It'd have to be like a really good deal.
that was processed through their store, then they probably would. I don't know how
Right.
that works though, but I mean that would be great. I mean, honestly, like if Game Pass came to Steam, I would subscribe through Steam and probably play a bunch of my games on here.
I
So,
guess I'm building a fucking PC,
um,
boy. Oh
Yeah, you
god
gotta do
damn.
it.
I mean,
Listen, this year, as soon as I got my tax money beginning of the year, I said I'm going all in. Got me a 4070. You know what I'm saying? I said I gotta do it, man, because the route that Xbox is going, they not gonna be here that long.
yeah. So I mean,
Can't
like
keep dealing with this, man.
I'm gonna end up buying another Xbox because
Definitely, day one. As stupid
I
as
have
we
Me
look
too.
buying it, we gonna buy it day
yeah.
one.
I mean, look. I mean, here's the thing.
I'm not a proud man.
I mean, they've committed to backward compatibility, and we know that the next Xbox. I mean, the Series S and X are really just pro models for the Xbox One S and the Xbox One X, and the next consoles will be the same. It'll probably have a similar UI. It'll just be faster,
Oh, we
stronger.
know it's gonna have a similar UI. We know that.
You know, and I'm fine. I'm fine with that. I'm fine with unplugging my old one, plugging the new one
Right.
in, and everything just working,
Right.
and
Right.
still being
Right.
and me not having to learn a new UI. Like that's fine. I'm cool with that. But I mean, as long as it continues to play my library, I mean, this next generation of consoles that they buy, I may wait until, you know, I feel like my Series X isn't working right
No,
anymore,
don't
or
wait.
something
Day
happens to
one.
it.
Day one.
I'm
You gotta
getting day
show.
one.
Pledge your allegiance to
I'm
Phil.
getting.
Don't be a traitor. Phil
Yeah.
and Sarah are waiting.
So I don't
Yep.
necessarily, I don't think I'll necessarily feel the need to get one immediately, but I think I will eventually.
You gonna get that
Especially
digital Series X?
no,
Mm-mm.
no, I have some physical games.
What's the
And
plan
honestly,
with that? What you think the aim is with that?
I don't know.
To not sell more consoles because that's the dumbest
Yeah.
fucking thing I've ever seen in my
I mean,
life, bro.
I guess somebody that wants to buy that's still on Xbox One or PS4. I mean, maybe they're banking on, you know, half of PlayStation users are still on PS4. I'm sure about half or a little less than half of Xbox users are still on the One. They're probably going to heavily market it with Call of Duty this holiday.
Half these people don't even know what
So-
Xbox fucking is, dude. They're not buying it.
Yeah,
If
but they know
are,
what,
they're
but
getting, like,
they know what Call of Duty is. So when they see an ad that has a game console with Call of Duty included, or get it with this many months of Game Pass with Call of Duty included, they're gonna play Call of Duty on
most
it.
people don't even know what fucking Game
And-
Pass is, man. Xbox,
Yeah.
they're
My
killing
only
me.
thing with that is like, yo, the people that play Call of Duty, that's all they play, yo. Nobody's gonna. I truly don't feel like people are gonna sign up for Game Pass and just have that
I don't know.
recurring
I
over the
mean-
next 10 months until the next Call of Duty game just to play.
I
Call
mean,
of Duty.
think about it like this: people that play it probably play a lot of it. They probably put money in microtransactions and stuff in the game, so they may just look at it like, you know, okay, I'm gonna pay, you know, $20 instead of 70
That's a
today.
good point. Yeah.
I'm gonna have an extra $50 to spend on cosmetics and bullshit and battle passes. And if they're smart, which they're not, we
Oh,
know
they're
they're
not.
not.
Hey, though. That was
they're
my
smart-
next question. Was like, do we
if-
really think most of them are that smart or think that hard about
If-
this? I'm genuinely asking.
If they were smart, Game Pass Ultimate would come with Call of Duty battle passes every season, so you wouldn't have to
Yeah.
spend that extra $10.
Yeah, that'd be
So you
fun.
Can they
basically
do that?
you'd save an extra $10 per season.
Can they do
And
that without offering it on PlayStation
I
and
don't know why not.
Nintendo?
They own it.
Well, because they promised no, it has to be the same for everyone.
It is the same. That you can still have the battle pass over there. They didn't say they couldn't change the pricing for different platforms. I mean, if it comes with your Game Pass, because I mean, the game already coming with Game Pass is different. Like they're not offering it for free on PlayStation or Switch. You can't get Game Pass on those. So I mean, offering extra perks. I mean, my thing is like the hypocrisy of that entire thing, right? Like there were valid concerns about Microsoft owning Activision Blizzard, but parity being one of them was bullshit because PlayStation's paid for lack of parity
Right.
from
And
Activision
so
for
did
the last
Xbox
10
again
years.
before, and so did Xbox.
and-
like they've always
and-
that's
yeah,
been a part of the
exactly.
game forever.
I mean, there was literally, I mean, Spider-Man and Avengers,
Listen, I will never forgive
strikes
Xbox.
and guns and Destiny.
I will never forgive Xbox when I was a kid and I had Marvel Ultimate Alliance on. What did I have it on? I think it was. I had it on. I think I had it on PS2 or something like that. But anyway, I'll never forgive them for locking Hulk, Venom, Cyclops, all of them to the Xbox version of Ultimate Alliance.
I think Juggernaut was
Yes,
one of
they
them
locked
too.
all of them.
Yeah, and so that's the thing. It's like
yo.
I'm not demonizing Sony for making those deals because Xbox does it too. I am criticizing Sony for getting up there and crying about shit that they do.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
like Jim Ryan up there fucking crying like a little
Crying,
toddler.
Jim did his job, but yeah, it was bullshit,
know,
and it was hilarious to
like-
watch.
Like literally, like the next day, all the Call of Duty ads came out for that year, and it was not. It was all exclusively on PlayStation. It's map pack exclusively on PlayStation.
Yeah.
These guns and levels and Destiny strikes and shit exclusive on PlayStation. You know, and
Yeah.
like whatever. Like
Yeah, I'm interested to see how much wiggle room there actually is for them when Call of Duty does come out. You know what I mean? Based on like the things they said, what's enforceable, what's not, what loopholes are there. They're gonna try to do something to make it more attractive to play on Xbox, right? Aside from just being like play it on Game Pass. Like,
you would think. Although when we think that there's something obvious that Xbox is going to do,
right, they never do
they
it.
don't.
Yeah.
We're going to see ads for Call of Duty on PlayStation this holiday for some reason. Like,
Right,
you know,
right,
like
right.
get it on Xbox and also
Yeah.
PlayStation. No,
Yeah.
don't fucking mention PlayStation ever. like get it on Xbox. Like,
Yeah.
what are y'all doing?
Yeah,
So I mean,
absolutely. Yeah.
that's how they are. They I don't know, that whole thing, and then they finally get exclusive games or good games, and they're like, oh, now we're gonna put them on PlayStation. And it's like, and you got all these people that don't understand how the industry works that are like, oh, you're just gatekeeping games. Like, no, it's not that I don't want more people to play these games. It's that it kills the platform that I play on.
As a consumer,
Like-
you want to feel special, man. Like if I see Gears of War on PlayStation, I'm just not gonna buy an Xbox anymore. I want my Xbox
Right.
to feel special. I want it to be the Gears of War Halo box. The minute that it's not, it's like it's no reason for it to exist.
And like people can lie to themselves all day long, but there's never been a console that was special because of something other than the games that were on it.
Yeah.
Right.
That you couldn't get elsewhere. Period.
Right.
Like
Yeah.
there's a reason why every single movie theater poster now says exclusively in theaters, because they're trying to push that you want to see it here, not at home.
But
on
it's so
Netflix.
funny too, because then you
Like-
look at like the fact that exclusives don't even sell, really.
They
when you
do,
think
though.
about it.
They do. So here's my take on that, right? So people always say like, oh, Spider-Man only sold 20% of the PS4.
No,
Yo,
right?
the install
Wait,
base
or
thing is
whatever.
so dumb, bro. It's the dumbest
Right.
argument.
Okay. So let me. So my thing is this: is like, okay, that may be true, right? But one, every PlayStation sold isn't a different person. Like a lot of people had multiple, and two, those 20 million people bought Spider-Man, right? So they got a PS4, maybe not for Spider-Man, but they bought a PS4 for games that Sony puts out. And then their friends bought a PS4 because they had a PS4. And it may not have been for Spider-Man, but it might have been for God of War. It might have been for Horizon, or it might have been for Call of Duty, which a lot of it is, Red Dead or whatever. But because they're
those
friends.
games mostly, I think. But
Yeah. So I think when you look at it, everyone has. I don't think most people buy a console they might buy it for Call of Duty, but there's probably at least one or two first-party exclusives that also caught their eye. Like,
of course, look, I get it,
I mean,
but
like-
it's just like it's
Or-
funny
or-
to me that they don't sell as well as
Like-
you would
like I think the exclusives are like the foundation of building that audience. Like it's what gets people to come from that was what the big thing about why the cross-gen period was so long, where they were like, they haven't given us a reason or given people a reason to jump to PS5 yet, right? Like I can keep playing Call of Duty on PS4, I can keep playing
Right.
Spider-Man and God of War and Horizon Forbidden West on PS4.
But
So,
PS5
like-
has exclusives, so does Series
does.
X.
Now they do, and they did that first year, but they were stuff like Demon Souls remake, niche game, Ratchet and Clank, Returnal.
I
mean, Ratchet
I
and
don't know,
Clank's not
man.
that
I do
popular.
think there's like I think that the point that 20 million out of 100 and how many PS4 sold?
114.
I'm about to cook him. Let him finish. Go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead.
If you're gonna make one of Xbox, like yeah, it's the
No,
same
I'm not
thing.
talking
though.
about Xbox. I'm not talking about Xbox.
All right, go ahead. What?
Okay, so if and this is not just you. This is for all the people that talk about install base. right? So a lot of people like to say, "Oh, Spider-Man did 20 million or Miles Morales did 12 million." That's
Just because we use Spider-Man as an example, isn't it?
No, it's not. We can even go to something like Ratchet and Clank. Ratchet and Clank did like 3 million and barely profited. It did profit. Go read the documents, but it did like 3 million and barely profited. And people say, "Oh, well, that's the percentage. The attach rate is terrible." Okay, if that attach rate is terrible, right? What's the attach rate for Resident Evil 4 remake? What's the attach rate for Street Fighter 6? What's the attach rate for Elden Ring, which is available on PlayStation, Xbox, PCs, etc.? So when you talk about attach rates, there's like no game in history that is gonna do a 40% attach rate, 50% attach rate, even 30%. It's just not. It's just not close. The closest will probably be like Minecraft, but most people played that on phones for free when it first came out. So, and that's the best selling game of all time in history.
I think, to be honest with you, I think we love all this stuff. You, me, Steven, we all love video games with all our heart.
Yeah.
And so it means so much to us. But like in reality, if you stripped everything away, there's like 5 video games that matter. And that's it.
Yeah.
I'd agree with nothing else matters.
I mean, I think financially you're right. I don't think that's
But that's what it comes down to at the end of the day for all of them, right? It's financial.
But I think
suddenly PlayStation started doing real bad, guess what? Shit would change. If suddenly Nintendo started doing real bad, like the Wii, shit would change. Xbox did real fucking bad, shit changed. It's all financials. There's 5 games that matter. The rest of it, we love, doesn't fucking matter.
Yeah, right. Because if Xbox was never doing bad, we wouldn't have Game Pass.
You're right. No, yeah, you're right. And it's things that are good and bad are born out of those changes. But I don't know, man. Certainly, it feels like there's a handful of games that move the industry, and those games are the exact reason we had that really long cross-gen period you brought up.
Yeah.
But I think it's one of those things where it's like we're focusing, like you're focused on those 5 what you would call tentpole, games or whatever they may be, Call of Duty, Minecraft, whatever they are, Fortnite,
FIFA,
2K,
yeah.
Madden.
So you're looking at those, but that's like the big stuff from the industry, but everything else still helps support it. So I mean, like we see how genres come along, like the Souls likes and the roguelike genres and stuff like that, and those things, they're part of that too, though. So it's just like it's not that it's not important.
I'm being hyperbolic to an extent.
Yeah. So I mean, my thing is, I think his point is that like when you have a game like that's multi-plat that doesn't even sell as much as Spider-Man, like how can we sit there and be like, oh, only 20% of PlayStation users bought Spider-Man? Like, okay, only.
I think we should be talking even more shit about the third-party game too.
Like way less people bought, Street Fighter 6, right? So like, I mean,
right. And what does that like tell you? You know what I mean?
I think it's a +1 situation. How I always looked at when buying consoles back when I was poor or whatever. The way I looked at it, and I think the way that most people look at it is, okay, I'm not buying a console for Spider-Man. Maybe I'm not buying a console for Call of Duty, but where can I play Spider-Man and Call of Duty?
Right. Absolutely.
Where can I, if your favorite game is Halo, and then your only other game you play all through the year is Madden, it's like, okay, well, I'm gonna get an Xbox because I can play both of them. So I don't think that the exclusives are like the reason people go to the systems, but I think it helps, like, because when you're deciding, because you want to have everything that you want on one system.
If I had no games whatsoever, no accounts, and I had to choose, right? Like if Halo was on PS5, why would I get the Xbox?
Right.
Because
it's about the entire offering. I get what you're saying. It's about the ecosystem they've built together and what's the entirety of what will be available to me based on what I purchase.
Except for Nintendorks, because they don't care about nothing. They don't care about nothing. They gonna play that Mario scroller on that 2017 Android tablet, and it don't matter what. They ain't got no Madden. They ain't got no 2K. They don't have nothing. They don't got Call of Duty, and they gonna buy that 2017 Android tablet.
You know what else they don't have? You know what else they don't have?
What?
Donkey Kong.
I noticed where you was going.
Well, and the Switch is like that thing where it's like their games do have a really high attach rate compared to Xbox and even PlayStation, right? Like, I mean, what is Super Mario Odyssey? Super Mario Odyssey, I think they've got games on Switch that have sold almost as much as, like some multi-platform games that have reached 40 million, right? Like, I mean,
they've had it's Mario Kart sold like 60 million.
Yeah.
Yeah, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, I think.
Yeah, Nintendo drones are
like-
different for sure.
Yeah, they're a different breed. They don't care, man.
It was 50. It was 61 million units as of March this year.
All right, over
That's
under,
crazy. I mean,
over under. Then we gonna move on. Over under. How much y'all got Donkey Kong Country HD selling? Over under 1 million.
$60.
Are you talking about how many sales?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah. What y'all got? I got it at. I got it at. I'll say 4 million.
I don't know. I think
At
yeah, like
$60,
3
by the
million.
way.
Like probably like 3 million.
3 million.
Yeah, I'm going under 4.
Under 4.
Yeah.
Y'all really
Yeah.
doubt the Nintendo. I got something for y'all.
I,
You're
I,
over?
I how did Tropical Freeze do? What did it sell?
What did that launch on though? Was that
It was like
that's
a Wii U game that they ported over
okay?
for full price. I mean, I feel like I feel like 2D Donkey Kong is
Okay,
similar to Metroid.
the Switch version did 4.6 million.
Okay,
Yeah, I'm
well,
going under.
then it'll probably. I think it'll probably sell at least that then, probably at least 4.
I do
I don't
4, not over 4, but I do 4.
I don't think so. I disagree. I think we're gonna go under.
Like
Rip Donkey Kong started.
honestly, I will say like Nintendo fans, they buy a lot of games, but then they don't buy Metroid, and I don't understand that because
Man,
Metroid Dread's the best game on Switch.
easy.
The best game on
I
Switch.
understand why.
So
What
is
do you
it too
mean?
hard for them?
Outside of Smash Bros, ass.
Oh,
Outside of Smash Bros, Samus is ass.
Oh,
Metroid is the most generic, boring
hell no.
franchise. It's
We
literally
gotta
the
end it
worst.
here.
It's the
Rather
worst
technical.
Nintendo franchise they have. It's the worst one. Give me a new
Having
Star Fox
technical
Adventures.
difficulties.
Give me
man,
Star
I
Fox
want an
Adventures too.
investigation launched into this, man. This is ridiculous. No way.
We gonna look,
He's
we gonna say
killing
that.
me.
That's gonna be another episode. We got to talk about Nintendo franchises, but
I think that'd be a great episode.
yeah, we're gonna do that. All right,
Yeah.
but we're gonna get to the last because Steven got to go. We're gonna wrap him up. All right, so so what are some superhero games that were hidden gems to you? Games that we should talk about more, but were not looked upon fondly in history.
You can go ahead, Sammy.
I don't know that it wasn't looked upon fondly at the time, but I don't know that it got the appreciation it deserved. But The Punisher, man, that game, 2004,
Yeah.
it's so visceral, so brutal. Exactly like they did that character the exact way he was meant to be done, and it doesn't happen often. And like that is just, I thought that was an amazing game. And then also, funny enough, I'm not even that big of a Punisher fan, but the Punisher beat 'em up
Yeah.
was also another really great game back in the day. So I think both of those games were sort of hidden gems that more people should give a shot today.
The Punisher. I can't wait to play that game for the first time in the collection. I never played it. The beat 'em up, and that
Yeah.
Punisher 2004 was actually the Saints Row team who did that game.
Is that true?
Yes.
Really?
hmm
Oh,
Position?
Before Saints Row, but it has the same shooting mechanics and everything from Saints Row. It's the same team.
that's amazing.
Really cool.
Yeah, go ahead, Steve.
So, I've got that Marvel Nemesis, Rise of the Imperfects.
Yeah.
I don't know if y'all ever played that.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty cool. I don't know if you can see
Talk
it.
about it.
Yeah.
I I got it. I got it. I didn't play it when it came out, but I got it when I got my original Xbox a couple years ago when I bought one again, and it's pretty cool. It's kind of like a fighting game beat 'em up kind of thing. Pretty cool. I liked it.
The campaign
Um,
was like a beat 'em up, but then the
Yeah.
other side was 1v1.
Right.
Yeah.
And then when I was a kid on GameCube, I think I got like $50 or something for Christmas from my grandparents, and we went to Toys R Us, and I picked out X-Men Next Dimension,
Yeah.
and that's got like a 60 Metacritic score.
Mm-hmm.
I remember loving that game. That's just a straight up 2D fighter with like stage transitions and stuff like that. It had a campaign too, which was cool. So I like that. And then on Game Boy Advance, there was a Streets of Rage-esque kind of beat 'em up, like 2D side scroll beat 'em up called Reign of Apocalypse. Kind of gave me vibes like the old school SNES games and stuff. So yeah, those are my picks. I like those games, even though everyone else hated them.
X-Men
apparently.
Next Dimension was the third game in the Mutant Academy series, by the way.
Mhm.
Really? I didn't know that.
Mutant Academy 1 and 2 on the original PlayStation, and that was the third game. And that game was
Okay.
really good, Next Dimension, because it took the same like 2D gameplay as Mutant Academy 1 and 2, but it added,
3D models.
They were 3D on PS1 and PS.
Oh, were they?
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
The first two were 3D.
Yeah.
But they added the destructible environments, like how you could knock somebody through the X Mansion and they would fall onto the street, like kind of like Dead or Alive. And that is what you need in an X-Men game.
And that game's the reason why I knew who Bastion was before X-Men 97
yes,
came out.
Yes, because nobody, he's the most obscure.
Yeah.
So for me, I would say, what was my pick? Oh, Captain America on PS3. That game, I know that game got cooked. I don't remember who made it, but that game literally, if you like any Batman game in the Arkham series, you're gonna like that game because it's literally the exact same combat, heavy, but you get Captain America's shield, and the sound on the shield is just so satisfying when you're in combat and you hit people with it. So I thought that game was pretty good. That's a good playthrough if you ever get around to it. Also, you know what? I'll talk about some games that didn't come out to mix it up. The Daredevil PS2 game. If you ever get a chance,
bring it up.
Yeah, if you ever get a chance to play that ROM, you can actually play it if you can find it. That game.
You can?
Yeah, it's playable. You can play it. You can download the ROM on PC if you can find it. Or even if you don't have a PC, just go look it up on YouTube. They got the full game playthrough of what was leaked by the devs.
That's amazing.
Yeah, the devs who were working on that game, they leaked it after it got canceled.
It was supposed to be PS2.
Yeah, it was PS2, and it looked.
What was it called?
Daredevil, the Man Without Fear.
Daredevil.
It looked really good. It looked like Spider-Man 2 with better combat. Yeah, it looked really.
I was looking to see if Vim's Lair had it, but they don't.
Yeah, I gotta find it. I gotta keep digging to find it because I couldn't find it. Also, the X-Men game that was on Sega Saturn. That game looked so good. That game looked really good. It kind of looked like what was that game back in the day? Loaded. If y'all remember Loaded on PS1, that's what it reminded me of. Where you just walking throughout the environments, just blasting stuff. It looked really good. And it was, I forget the name, but just X-Men Saturn, you'll find it.
Was it Children of the Atom?
No. It was unreleased. It got canceled. Type X-Men 32. Type in X-Men 32.
Dude, I can't believe we're on the same page, 29. I swear to God, when you were done, I was about to bring up that game and a couple other ones. Go ahead. That's amazing. Man.
And then the last one I'll talk about, I'll talk about two more. I'll talk about the 2099 game that was on PlayStation 1 that got canceled. That game also looked good. It was a side scroller, and you could pick between Spider-Man 2099, Ghost Rider 2099 was on there, Punisher 2099, and I think the Hulk 2099 was on there. And they demoed it at E3, so the gameplay again, that's on YouTube. It looked really good. Sadly, it got canceled. And there was one more I wanted to talk about. It was it was a X-Men, not X-Men. It was a Marvel fighting game. It was the sequel to Nemesis, Rise of the Imperfects. And it was going to be done by EA Chicago, who made, I think it was Fight Night that they did. But that game looked really good, too. It was like Marvel, Rise of the Imperfects, but it had destructible environments. You could look that gameplay up, too, and it's crazy the amount of destructibility that was in that game.
Man. Oh, by the way, did you really think I wasn't going to bring up
Yes, talk about it, please. Tell people about it, man.
Come on.
He said the
Come on, man. This game was good.
Is that Deadpool?
That movie was so bad. This game was good.
Green Lantern. I've got it in my. I'm gonna buy a copy of that. Captain America.
Good. Yeah, I'm gonna get Captain America because that sounds awesome.
Play Thor too. Thor is like a carbon copy of the Green Lantern game.
Oh really?
And they came out around the same time. Yeah, they both like the same exact.
That. It's fun. Yeah. So you mentioned some games that didn't come out. There were two more I was gonna mention. There was a Flash game. That was also like a 3D Flash game.
Was it in 64?
I thought it might have been Sega. I don't remember what console it was for, but there's YouTube videos. Like they had some gameplay of it. It looked so cool. Mm-hmm. And ever since I saw that, I mean, a few episodes ago, I said I wanted a Flash game. Like that could be so cool. But you're right, it could be so hard to make. And then, man, they were making a Green Lantern video game for the SNES. Kyle Rayner, like it was. My heart, they were making it. You can find the OST and everything. Like it was almost, and then it got canceled. It never came out.
The fact we never got an X-Men Legends 3.
Huh?
We needed. We never got an X-Men Legends 3. That's what always.
Yeah.
They moved
I
on
wanted
to
But
Ultimate Alliance.
We did get
Yeah.
Ultimate Alliance 3, but I didn't. It was on Switch, so it's like
You never play Ultimate Alliance 3?
I've played it. I own it. Yeah, I like it. I
If you
like
get
it, but
that
I
X
wish.
Men DLC, you good. That's the whole X Men right there. That's X Men Legends
hmm,
3.
Yeah, it's a good game. It's a good game. I like it.
yeah. But yeah,
But
man, that's so funny. 29. I can't believe you went in that direction. I was literally, I was on my way home thinking like, oh, that's exactly the direction I want to go. So that's amazing.
Yeah, man. Y'all
But yeah,
got
that's everything I got.
y'all got anything else to talk about before we get out? Steven gotta go. We're gonna get him out.
nope,
No, not for me.
that's it.
All right. Without further ado, see y'all next week. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. We still doing that Star Wars Outlaws giveaway at 100 subscribers. Still waiting on the release date for the Marvel collection to do the tournament. We're going to be doing that as well. So make sure y'all tap in. The mailbag will be back next week. We didn't have enough time to do it this week, but it will be back next week. See y'all later.
Thank you. Love you
Sorry.
guys. Bye.